Marina Pearson and I'm the founder of Divorce Shift. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today I want to talk about the shift flower. Now, I've talked about the 7 mistakes that people make that really keep them in struggling from moving on from their ex, and today I wanted to talk about what the answers are to those mistakes. And this is where I found some real nuggets of gold, because to address each of these mistakes will help you finally let go and move on. Okay, so the first one is commit. Very easy. Just commit to letting go. And what I found is the best way to do that is by actually knowing what your why is. Why do you want to let go? Why is it so important for you to finally free yourself of all that anger and resentment and hurt and blaming and shaming? You know, is it because you just want to free yourself up and invite somebody else in? Is it because you're so tired of feeling this way? Is it because you realize that, you know, if you have children, that this is the best way for them to feel that they're actually being supported? So really take the time today to really find out your why you want to move on. So that's number 1. Number 2 is C. Now, this is really to let go of the judgment, okay? Now, science is now finding out that we actually are all one, and that we're all connected in some way, shape or form. Now, this used to be like a real woo-woo thing to talk about. And, you know, in my mind, I would be like, really? We're all one? Come on, you know. But the fact is that we are. If you think about it, we all came from this big block of mass that exploded out into the universe, star particles. And actually, if you look at the way that we are structured on the inside, you'll see that we actually are like the universe. So what does this really mean? Well, if you're able to see your ex as a reflection of who you are, that they are just a mirror, the judgment now really means that, you're pointing that right back at yourself. So we usually judge people for what we don't like in ourselves. Now, you know there are some parts of me that I don't necessarily like all that much, and guess what? I'll go and judge somebody for that. But the truth is that actually that judgment's really about me. You know, when you're pointing the finger, you've got 3 fingers pointing back at you. So the first thing to do with C is to start to really identify, well, if I see it in that person, then I must have it. But in what form? So for example, it could be anything from, okay, he's very selfish or she's very selfish. And you're thinking, okay, they're selfish. And you're thinking, well, actually, I'm not so selfish. Well, think about it. You know, have you ever done something that's actually probably annoyed somebody else because they perceived you being that way? So just write down something that you feel that you're judging somebody else for, and just explore the possibility that this is something that you effectively judge for you. Okay. So heal. This is about healing your story. And as I mentioned in a previous video of the 7 mistakes, we tend to rehash the story. Now, there are 2 sides to every story, if not more. Because the thing is, we are meaning-making machines. We love to make meaning out of everything. But in truth, something happens, okay? So that's the fact. You know, that person left, and that's the fact. And then what happens is we make meaning out of what that means for us. But it's actually just made up. So, in truth, there are negative stories, but also there are positive ones. If there's a negative story, there must be a positive. Because there's not anything other than that in the universe. In fact, black, white, up, down, negative, there must be a positive story. So it's about really healing that story for yourself. So take a moment in your day to write something down that your ex has done, the meaning that you've given to it, And now start thinking about the possibilities of how that particular action might have actually benefited you in some way. Okay? So that's heal. The next one is inquire. And this is really to challenge your assumptions and actually help with the expectations. Inquiry is really about asking powerful questions, because that's the only way that we can challenge our assumptions about another person. And by doing this, you're going to be able to finally let go of making everything that the other person does personal, which will free you up, and you'll stop feeling so rejected in some way, shape or form. So inquiry. What kind of powerful questions can you ask yourself today? Is it anything from the space, anything like, how can I take 100% responsibility for who I am and the way I respond to that person? Make sure that the question has an I in it, not a to me in it, because then you become the victim again. So ask a powerful question and inquire. Focus. Focus. So where are you placing your focus? Are you placing it on them? In other words, are you blaming and shaming them? Or are you coming back to focusing on yourself? There are two parts to this. The first one is that, whether external, internal, or the language that you use. So for example, if you're blaming the other person for who they are versus the behavior, now they become all of that. Things like always and never, if you use those, then basically what that means is that's all you'll see. Because your brain filters through your language. So for example, there's a North American Indian tribe that don't actually have a word for green. Therefore, they don't see it. So really, it's about being able to focus either on yourself and your internal world of what's going on for you as you get angry and you start to feel that, but also the language that you use towards the other person. So when you find yourself blaming or shaming, just stop, come back to yourself, and just think, okay, what language can I use so that I start to feel better, and so that the other person doesn't need to feel that I'm using that conflict. By doing that, you reduce the inner conflict for yourself. Great. And fine. And the next one is transform. Transform is about getting out of the what ifs of the future, if onlys of the past, so that you become really present. And the beauty of this is this really will make peace. Because if you can see how everything in your past has served you, and that actually the fear of the future is just an illusion, and you're able to be really present with the moment, you'll free yourself. You'll free yourself of the anguish and the suffering and so forth. So one thing you can really do is actually challenge that notion. When you find yourself going, what if I'm going to be the only person on the planet and nobody's going to love me anymore? What if the kids can't eat? What if that awful thing is going to happen? Challenge it and ask yourself, is it really true? How do I know it's true? Okay, so transform is about transforming and being in the moment. And finally, support. As I previously said in the 7 mistakes, support is so key. It's so key to understanding others, getting inspired by others and their own stories, and actually not struggling to move on, to ask for help. Because asking for help is where you have the courage. People think that asking for help is weak, but actually asking for help is really courageous. Because you're able to actually be really honest with yourself and go, I can't do this on my own. So as a result of that, actually having the right support is really, really key. So what do I mean by the right support? Well, it can be going to workshops, learning more about who you are in relationship. We spend such little time working on this aspect of our lives. Why? Because we're surrounded by people all the time. And we think, you know what? I don't need to learn that. I'm surrounded by people all the time. This should come really naturally. But the truth is, we need to learn this stuff. Would you get in a car and start driving if you didn't know how to? No, you need to be taught. And the same thing is with relationships and who you are. So find yourself some workshops you can go to learn more about relationships. And if you want to know more about my workshops and so forth, which you're more than likely, more than welcome to come and watch, come and see and attend, you can go to www.divorceshift.com/events. There are free meetup groups. There are also the opportunity to come to the workshops that we run at the weekends, where you'll learn, where you'll grow, and where you'll be able to share with other like-minded people going through the same thing. So that's it really for today. You've got the shift flower, which is commit, see, heal, inquire, focus and transform, and support. Thank you.